Stop thinking New Year's resolution. Everyone fails on their summer body. There's one expert, and that expert can't lie to you.
How do we know what to do? Hi, I'm David Corey with local Abbotsford Eats and Remax Little Oak Realty, and today I'd like to introduce you to Todd Fontaine, Fontaine Fitness. We're going to have a great chat today about coaching, food, nutrition. It's going to be great. Stay tuned. Well, it's New Year's, and a popular trend that people follow is to set New Year's resolutions. But Todd, do you believe in that?
No. Oh, that's one thing I try and get people away from. There was a joke, that people have said for a long time. Everyone's diet starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow never comes. Oh, well, tomorrow. Well, tomorrow.
Stop it. Get some help.
And again, we always like to make up excuses and justify our unhealthy habits. Everyone does it, and then we're always going to say, well, in December it's Christmas, there's Christmas parties, there's Christmas dinner, there's New Year's. I'll get started in the new year. But the problem, though, is you're setting your habits in place throughout those months where you, this month, I can't do it this month. But now you're creating those habits that are so hard to break. And the longer you create that habit, the harder it is to break that habit. Stop thinking New Year's resolution starting tomorrow. What can you do right now? Right now. So I would say right away, go grab a glass of water. Hopefully you have a filtration system or some good healthy bottled water. Again, Evian or Fiji, a better quality one. Start drinking water today. Let's make that your thing. That's where I like to start people. If it stresses you out, the thought of eliminating some of those foods you don't want to eliminate, let's just start with some water. Let's start drinking some water. Let's make that a regular thing. And make our slow changes. But the New Year's resolution, as I've noticed, most people have gotten away from that. Gyms aren't super busy in January like people think. It's usually more into the spring because people want the summer body, and that's another. And that's another unfortunate one. Now, if you're wondering why you always fail on your summer body, it's because as soon as our body senses that extra daylight, because we've only had this cushy society for a few hundred years. Before that, food was more scarce in the wintertime, especially again if you're from the northern and southern parts of the world where the ground's frozen half of the year. So we would eat more meats and fats in the wintertime, and food would be more scarce. So as soon as that sun comes out, our body goes, there's daylight. We need to get those carbs in. We need to fatten up. And a lot of people find it easier actually to lose weight more into the wintertime because your body is already in tune to that. Now it's different for people that, again, their ancestry is closer to the equator where they got sun year round. But for myself, European descent, that's why in the summertime, when that sun's out, what do we want to do? Light up that barbecue.
Yeah.
We want to eat. We want to have drinks. And that's just, again, our bodies naturally wanting to fatten up because it thinks, winter will come and the food's going to be more scarce. So that kind of goes with the whole New Year's resolution thing.
Well, that's right. And of course, in my case, I want to have beer and barbecue all year round. So I don't know where I'm from, but
I think everyone, we have our guilty pleasures throughout the year. But again, that's why a lot of people talk about the summer body. And you see it on social media. My summer body, you'll have to wait till next year. Everyone fails on their summer body. I see very few people that succeed on the summer body. And that's why, because your body only cares about survival. It doesn't care that you want to look better in a bathing suit. It doesn't care about that stuff. Everything in us is built in for survival. So that's not to say that you can't lean out in the summertime. Obviously you can. But if you're wondering why that always happens, that's one of the reasons why. And one of the reasons why I tell people, don't necessarily fight that. You can have a little more carbs in the summer when your body is craving it. Just make sure it's good carbs and eat some protein and fat with your carbs. Don't just have carbs on their own, because then your blood sugar is going to spike up, your blood sugar is going to spike back down again.
Great. Well, that's awesome advice. So Todd, I'm confused. There's keto, fasting, carb cycling, Atkins, all these different things, all this information online. How do we know what to do?
I can add to that, there's vegan, vegetarian, there's carnivore diets, there's all these different things. And the whole thing is like, you got this expert saying one thing, that expert saying something else, and they got all the science to back them up. So what I always go back to is there's one expert, and that expert can't lie to you. It doesn't know how to, and that's your own body.
Liar.
Yeah. And one person's medicine is another person's poison. So we have people, especially in Canada, that come from all over the world. Some from closer to the equator, some from, us would be more European descent, Asian descent, and we got people from different parts of the world. There isn't going to be one specific way of eating that's going to work for everyone, because your genome has evolved differently. If you just think of it this way, do you honestly think that an Eskimo would be eating the same food as a pygmy from Africa? Right? It's a completely different landscape that they've developed themselves on.
Yeah.
So that's where it can be a bit tricky. Also, now what we have with airplanes and everything, unlike 200 years ago, now you're getting someone who, let's say, is a pygmy from Africa having a child with an Eskimo. Maybe that doesn't necessarily happen too often, but you kind of get the idea. You got people from completely different parts of the world. So now we got to figure out, well, what's going to work best? So if you start looking at some of these different studies, there's a time to do each thing, but it's not necessarily all the time. So if you look at the keto diet, it was originally developed for kids that were having epileptic seizures, and so they started to notice that with doing that diet, it was helping reduce the seizures, but they kind of knew that maybe that's a little too much fat in the diet. However, most people now eat too many simple sugars, too many carbs on their own, their blood sugar levels all over the place. So then they switch to a keto diet, and for a certain amount of time that can help them out to help level out the blood sugar levels. Also, a lot of times when you go onto these diets, not necessarily what you're eating that's making the difference, it's what did you just cut out. Cutting out the potato chips, the Tim Hortons, because all the diets are going to tell you that. They're all going to tell you,
what?
Don't eat this fast food.
That's crazy talk. Come on.
So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but so you look at what does all these diets all agree on, and they all agree not to eat the McDonald's, not to go to Pizza Hut, not be drinking beer all the time, and all these things.
This is terrible news, everybody.
Yeah, so, especially with holiday seasons being around the corner. So first of all, what we take out is going to make a bigger difference than what we put in. So if someone was to do the keto diet or a vegan diet, which are very much different, they're still going to get some benefit from either one because all that garbage they took out, as well as the quality of the food. So all these diets are going to tell you about the quality of food. If you farm your own food, if you have your own garden. Now, back in our day, we are getting a little older, but I remember where I grew up in northern Alberta, that so many people had gardens, and I don't see that as much anymore now. So having your own garden and the quality of the food. So these are the things that really make a big difference. From there, you just have to understand with a vegan diet. Now, number one, if you have a hard time with what happens with animals in factory farms, which is terrible, and what happens to the environment, and you say, hey, that's the most important thing to me, then great, do the vegan diet. Or maybe do it for a certain amount of time, because a lot of people have been eating too much meat, and that's not good for the digestion system, so go on a vegan diet for a while and flesh that out. A lot of people have noticed going on a vegan diet for a year or two works great, and sometimes after a year or two, they start to notice some detrimental effects of cutting out the meat. But some people people do great on it all the time. So it's all about each individual is going to be a little bit different. Realize cutting the garbage out is way more important. And same for intermittent fasting. There's times to do it, but if you don't know what you're doing, don't just read a book, go, oh, intermittent fasting. Because as I've talked about before, we're creatures of habit. And most people are already going long periods of time without eating, then gorging late at night. So then they see intermittent fasting and they go, well, that's what I've been doing all along, because subconsciously they want to avoid those changes. We want to justify what we're doing. Smoking cigarettes, we want to justify that. So unfortunately, I can't give an exact answer on that, but that's basically why we have so many different things that kind of seem to contradict each other.
Interesting. Todd, I have a question in mind, and I'm sure that everybody wonders this. How come I often fall off the wagon? Like, what's the difference between motivation and inspiration? How come it's so hard to stay on track?
Well, this happens to everyone, and it happens to fitness professionals too. To give you an example, last year in March when COVID hit and all of a sudden gyms got shut down and my business got obviously messed up, yeah, it affected me too, and I ended up putting on 10-15 pounds because it messed up my routine. Now, we're creatures of habit, so different examples I can give you is you've all experienced this where you're driving somewhere and you're meaning to go one place and all of a sudden you've noticed you're not even going where you meant to go because you're going a route you've gone numerous times. That's been ingrained in you to always do that one route. It's ingrained in us when we're going to eat, what we want to eat. Oh, it's late at night, I just want to snack on something and watch some TV, watch some Netflix. And it can be tough to break those habits. It takes a bit of time to break those habits. Just like if you go to a conference, if you're going to a course for a few days, you sit in your spot and guaranteed the next day everyone's going to sit in the same chairs they were in the day before because we're just naturally creatures of habit. So it can be tough to break those habits. It is stressful to the body. Even if you've been eating bad foods, what also happens is your liver will create the enzymes needed to digest those foods, and your body doesn't like to waste enzymes. So that's why you'll keep craving those same foods, and it takes a long time to break that because your body again wants to stay to those same routines. So that can be a tough part, and it happens to everyone, and if any fitness professional out there is honest with themselves, it happens to them too. So what you don't want to do is beat yourself up over it, and we don't want to have the all or nothing mentality. I'm gonna go on a strict diet like I'm pre-contest to be on stage bodybuilding type of dieting that's super strict. Yes, you're going to lose weight, but no one can stick to that. We want to be a little bit more realistic.
We have to have our Wendy's. Come on.
Yeah,
we need our Wendy's.
And we do have to have our little guilty pleasures. Yeah,
we need our Wendy's.
And there's a great 80-20 rule, where if 80% of the time we're doing everything exactly right, the other 20% is not going to make a huge difference. Now, if someone's really, their health has really gone downhill, I like to get as close to 100% for a while as possible so we can get the blood sugar levels back, the hormones and everything that's going to get affected there. And then once we get to a better base level, then we can do the 80-20, especially when we go into the fall. If we got Halloween, we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's, well, what am I supposed to do? The family wants to offer you this food, and you got to remember that they're doing it that's their way of showing their love to you, is to give you this food. And when you have to go, well, sorry, I'm trying to eat a little healthier, they can sometimes take that the wrong way. So people can inadvertently sabotage you a little bit when they mean well, and the socializing aspects can be the difficult part. So where I like to start people as you touched on, the difference between inspiration and motivation. You motivate yourself, to me, to do stuff you don't want to do. I gotta go mow the lawn. Okay, I gotta motivate myself to go mow the lawn or do the dishes. I don't want to do it. I gotta motivate myself to do it. But if there's something that inspires you enough, if you have a major passion, and hopefully you do, hopefully everyone out there has that major passion in their life, it is amazing the lengths you'll go to achieve that. So if you think about the people that climb Mount Everest, for most of us, if we were to wake up in the morning and realize we have to climb Mount Everest, I gotta motivate myself to try and do that. That's just crazy. But for the people that go do it, they're so inspired by that challenge. I'm willing to bet you they probably barely sleep the night before. They're just so excited to go. Now, we all have our own Mount Everest, and what we need to do is try and find that love and that dream, that passion. And it can take time to find that. That's not an easy thing, but when we find that, that's what will help give us the energy to make the changes that our body has a hard time making. So that's my, in a nutshell, look at the difference between inspiration and motivation. And if you have a hard time finding your dream, what's your biggest nightmare? And just kind of turn that around. So sometimes that's where we have to start off as well.
That's very good. One aspect that we haven't talked about with regard to your coaching, it's a personal one for me. I have a sore back. And in the past, I've worked out with trainers who were great people, but they didn't take my sore back into account. And I was always getting hurt. So since I started working out with you, Todd, you actually tailor the exercises in such a way that I don't get hurt. And I do squats and I do push-ups and I actually do a lot of things that I didn't think I would be able to, because you have a coaching style that is really specific to a person's needs, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so what I start off with is when clients come see me, one of the biggest mistakes I see is everyone's overzealous and everyone wants their instant results. So people will run out to do whatever high intensity workout and a lot of power movements and stuff like that. However, we always have to start with a good foundation. If you build a house, you got to have a good foundation, otherwise forget about the rest.
That's right, you have to get the house in there, right? Real estate,
Yes,
yeah.
real estate.
There we go.
So you guys should understand that. So what I need to do is check out the structure first. So I stand people on a plumb line, which you sometimes have that at a chiropractor, where I just hang a string and I stand you in front of it from a few different angles, and we test the nutrition, because if there's any gut health problems, that will mess everything up. If there's any constipation, that's where your sciatic nerve distribution starts, is at the colon.
It's very
that
crappy.
That can cause problems. So we got to look at a lot of things. Got to look at breathing patterns, got to look at mental, emotional things, everything that's affecting the body, and then design a program specifically for that person. Now, physically, it starts with a corrective program, which is our flexibility and mobility. So we start with flexibility and mobility first before we do strength. And the last thing, by far last, is any kind of power movements, heavier lifting or power movements, fast movements. But a lot of people start there because unfortunately some trainers want to show how hardcore they are, which anyone can do that. Anyone can make you sore and tired, but not just anyone can actually systematically improve you. So we start off with identifying what type muscles we have, and everyone can be a bit different. It's not a cookie cutter approach. The stretches and mobilizations I gave David will be different from someone else. Maybe they will be the same depending on what's going on, but they may be different, and then strengthening some of the weak muscles. But again, we got to look at the whole package. We got to look at sleep-wake cycles. If we're not getting to bed on time, it's been shown that between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. we have most of our physical repair, and from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. most of our psychological repair. So we got to have that proper repair for our androgens too. And as well as, are we drinking coffee throughout the day, and we're keeping our stress hormones up and suppressing our melatonin so we're not getting a good sleep at night, which is one of the best things we can do to recover, is a good night's sleep. Hydration, we have to look at that because it takes 90 days to rehydrate the disc of the spine, and it's been shown it can take up to 400 days to fully rehydrate all the fascia of the body.
Wow.
So it can take a long time if you've been dehydrated to drinking the right quality water. So we have to look at the whole package and try not to jump ahead to the exciting looking exercise right away, which I know can be tough. Some of the exercises that we have to do aren't the most exciting, but it's like Buckley's medicine. It tastes awful and it works.
Yeah, right. Well, and I can personally recommend you because I work out now 3 days a week, and I feel great. I look great, obviously, and I add water, to my whiskey. So I'm working on the hydration part. Thank you, Todd. Okay, it's time for our monthly contest. All you have to do is follow the instructions down below to enter the contest. Todd, what's this month's prize?
So what I'm offering is a 1-hour coaching session to go over some strategies with your food. I also look into stuff like sleep-wake cycles, hydration. We look at everything, it's holistic. So it'd be primarily, we'll look at your nutrition, but we also want to look at all the other factors that will affect your health as well.
Sounds great, and good luck. That was great, Todd. Thank you very much. I personally recommend Todd, and if you'd like to contact him, they can reach you at?
Basically my website, so as you can see on the sweater of the Fontaine Fitness, so www.fontaine-fitness.com, and my website will come up. You can also go on Facebook and type in Fontaine Fitness, and my fitness page on there will come up, and you can get a hold of me either way.
Great. Thanks very much.
No problem.